Hey guys, tonight we step into a world older, harsher and heavier than you might imagine. Not the Egypt of glossy books or golden treasures, not the pyramids that rise perfect against a blue sky. The truth? You would not last a single day as a slave in ancient Egypt. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you like what I do here. So, let the lights grow dim. Let the quiet hum of your room settle like a distant desert wind. Breathe slowly. And as you exhale, imagine yourself carried thousands of years back. You open your eyes, but not on a bed. There is no soft pillow, no blanket washed with soap. You wake on a mat of reeds, pressed flat by countless nights of restless turning. The stalks are dry, sharp in places, scratching your skin. They smell faintly of river water and dust, as though the Nile itself clings to your bedding. You shift, and the reeds creak like brittle bones. The air is heavy. It is still dark, but already warm. Even before the sun rises, you feel a weight pressing on your chest, not just of the day ahead, but of the heat that never truly leaves this land. Breathing is shallow, as if you are pulling sand into your lungs. Your home is not yours. It is a mud brick hut, one among many, built in haste, patched with straw and clay. The walls crack, and when the wind blows, fine dust trickles down into your hair and mouth. The roof is low, so low that when you sit upright, your head almost brushes against the reeds above. The smell of smoke from last night's fire lingers, mixed with sweat, with damp clay, with the sourness of too many bodies pressed into too small a space. You are not alone here. Family sleeps beside you. Brothers, sisters, parents, children, all crowded together. The sound of breathing fills the room, uneven and tired. Someone coughs. A child whimpers. An older man mutters in his sleep, restless from dreams. Privacy does not exist in this place. Your life is always watched, always shared. Beyond the thin walls you hear the faint bleating of a goat restless in the dark, the scratch of insects in the straw, and then silence breaks. A cry from outside, a voice calling, harsh, guttural, ordering movement, already, before dawn. You know what it means. Today, like yesterday, you will not choose your path. Your strength belongs to others. Your hours belong to Pharaoh. And the weight of that truth settles heavier on your chest than even the air. You try to delay the moment of rising. You stretch your arms and pain greets you. Your back aches as if you are twice your age. Your joints feel stiff, worn down from endless lifting, bending, carrying. You are young, perhaps 20, but your body is already old. Every motion reminds you of yesterday's labor and of tomorrow's to come. You push yourself upright. The mat crunches beneath you, reeds breaking under your hands. Your feet touch the ground. The floor is dirt, cold from the night, rough with scattered sand. When it rains, water seeps in, and the earth turns to mud. When it dries, dust rises with every step, clinging to your skin, to your lungs. There is no escape from it. The hut stirs. Others wake. You glance around, faces hollow, eyes heavy, movement slow. Everyone knows what the day will bring. No one speaks it aloud. There is no need. You reach for the only covering you own, a strip of rough linen, worn thin by years of use. It scratches as you pull it over your shoulders. It carries the smell of sweat, smoke, and earth. Clothes are not comfort here. They are survival, nothing more. Outside, a faint glow begins to spread across the horizon. Not yet the sun, only the promise of it. But already the air feels warmer, thicker, as if the desert prepares to remind you who rules this land. Not you, not your people, but Pharaoh, whose word is law, whose monuments rise while your bones bend beneath their weight. You step outside. The villagers awake now. Figures move slowly between huts, heads lowered. No laughter greets the morning. Only silence, broken by the sharp commands of overseers in the distance. The day has begun, and you realize, as your bare feet press into the dust, this world is not made for your comfort. This is Egypt, and you are not free. The light grows slow and pale, pushing the night back into corners. You blink against it, rubbing dust from your eyes. There is no gentle morning here, no warmth of bread or scent of flowers. Only smoke from last night's fire, only the sound of others rising, and the weight of knowing what waits. You reach for food, but food is not chosen. It is whatever remains. A piece of coarse bread, heavy and dark, baked days ago. It crumbles in your hand, leaving grit on your tongue. You chew slowly, but it does not soften. There is no sweetness, no butter, no oil. Just dryness filling your mouth, scraping your throat. Beside you, someone drinks. Not water, never water. The Nile is wide and glittering, but it carries sickness in every swallow. So instead, the people drink beer, weak and sour, safer than the river. The taste is bitter, but you drink anyway, because thirst is louder than disgust. Your stomach complains, but it does not matter. Breakfast is not for pleasure. It is fuel, and barely enough. Already the voices outside grow sharper. The day waits for no one. You cover yourself in linen, the same strip worn by night and day. It scratches, stiff with sweat. The fibres rub against your skin, raising red marks that never heal. Clothes here are not changed often. Most people own only one, and so the smell of smoke and sweat never leaves. It follows you, clings to you, until it becomes a part of you. You step out of the hut, bread still in hand. The village stirs, a slow tide of bodies moving toward the fields and quarries. Men bend low, gathering tools. Women carry jars balanced on weary shoulders. Children stumble after them, too young for such weight, but learning early that strength is demanded before choice. The air sharpens. The first rays of the sun slip across the horizon, and already you feel them burning. This land does not wait for comfort. It demands sweat every hour, every day. And as you walk with the others, your mind whispers the same thought again and again. You do not belong to yourself. Your hours are counted by another. Your strength is consumed by another. Your life is measured not in years, but in bricks, in stones, in endless labour. And even the scriptures, preserved for thousands of years, speak the same truth. The Egyptians made the children of Israel serve with rigour. Exodus 1:13. It was not poetry. It was not exaggeration. It was daily life. A grind so bitter, so relentless, that survival itself felt like defeat. And today, as you join the slow march of bodies toward the fields, you begin to understand. You would not last a single day. The sun climbs quickly here. No gentle dawn, no slow morning. One moment the horizon is pale, the next it is fire, and already the heat presses down, as if the sky itself has weight. You walk with the others, feet dragging through dust. Tools clatter against stone, wooden yokes creak across shoulders. The line of bodies moves in silence, except for the cough of dust and the bark of an overseer. Ahead, the fields. Not fields of grain, but of mud and clay. The Nile gives water, but that gift is taken and bent to Pharaoh's will. Pits stretch wide, filled with thick brown earth. Here, men sink their hands and feet, mixing mud with straw, shaping it into bricks. Hundreds, thousands, endless rows. The work begins before you are ready. Your hands plunge into cold mud, slick and heavy. It coats your arms, drags at your skin, seeps into every cut and blister. Straw scratches your wrists, the fibres stiff, splintering. You mould, you press, you lift, over and over. The same motion, the same weight, the same sting in your muscles. Voices shout, Faster! More! Whips crack, sharp, merciless. The sound cuts through the air, a warning before it becomes a wound, and sometimes it becomes both. The bricks must dry in the sun. Rows upon rows laid flat, each one marked not with pride but with exhaustion. Every brick is time stolen, strength drained, hope buried. You do not build for yourself. You build for monuments you will never enter, for rulers who will never know your name. The day stretches, endless. The heat grows unbearable. Sweat runs into your eyes, stinging, blinding. Your back bends, your shoulders ache, your legs tremble, but there is no rest. To stop is to invite the whip. To stumble is to risk more than pain. It is to risk your life. The dust rises, mixes with sweat, becomes a paste that clings to your skin. Your mouth is dry, your lips cracked. Every breath feels like swallowing ash. And still, you work, brick after brick, weight after weight, lash after lash. And even the scriptures preserved across centuries speak with brutal honesty about this life. And they made their lives bitter with hard bondage, in mortar and in brick, and in all manner of service in the field. All their service, wherein they made them serve, was with rigour. Exodus 1:14. It was not written as poetry, it was not written as metaphor, it was reality. Mud, straw, sweat, and blood. You glance around, every face tells the same story. Eyes empty, shoulders bent, movements mechanical. Men too weary to speak, women carrying burdens twice their size. Children learning early that their lives will be no different. The overseer walks by, whip coiled in his hand. You lower your gaze, not daring to meet his eyes. Your breath quickens, though you do not move faster. You know the lash can fall without warning, for no reason but his mood. And so you press another brick, and another, and another, the rhythm of bondage, the sound of survival. The sun begins to fall, but the heat does not fade. It clings to the earth, to the bricks, to your skin. Your body screams for rest, yet the work drags on. Only when the overseer finally turns away do you step back, hands trembling, chest heaving. The path home feels longer than it is. Feet drag through dust, shoulders ache under the weight of the day. Every step kicks up sand that sticks to sweat, coating your legs in grime. And when you finally reach your hut, there is no comfort waiting. The door hangs crooked, the walls lean, the air inside is close and sour. Smoke from the cooking fire hangs low, mixing with the smell of unwashed bodies, of damp straw, of illness. You hear coughing before you see faces. Your brother lies in the corner, his chest rattling with every breath. A child whimpers softly, clutching her stomach. Another scratches at sores on his skin. Sickness is always here. It spreads with the flies, with the dust, with the water you dare not drink but sometimes must. Your family gathers for the evening meal. A pot simmers weakly over the fire, lentils and onions thinned with water. It is not enough. Everyone eats in silence, each mouthful carefully measured, each bite unsatisfying. The taste is plain, earthy, almost bitter. It fills the stomach, but never the soul. You glance around the room. Faces are hollow, eyes dulled. Your mother's hands are rough, cracked from grinding grain each day. Your father's shoulders sag, bent from carrying burdens not his own. The children sit quietly, too tired to play, too used to hunger to complain. You lie down on your mat again. The reeds press into your back, poking through thin cloth. Around you, the night stirs with sound. The cry of an infant, sharp and urgent. The coughing fit of a man whose strength is fading. The shuffle of feet outside as guards pass through the village, reminding everyone who owns their lives. The weight is more than physical. It presses on your spirit. A question rises in your chest. How long can this go on? And the ancient scriptures describe it exactly. And it came to pass in process of time that the king of Egypt died, and the children of Israel sighed by reason of the bondage, and they cried, and their cry came up unto God by reason of the bondage. Exodus 2:23. They sighed, they cried, they groaned under the weight of chains, under the endless years of labour, and though no man listened, God heard. You close your eyes. The room is dark, but your mind is restless. Images flicker, the whip, the bricks, the sickness, the hunger, and somewhere in the silence a thought takes root. Perhaps there is more than this. Perhaps there is one who sees. Your heart whispers what your lips cannot say aloud, a prayer too fragile to voice, too dangerous to share. But in that whisper there is hope, hope that the God of your fathers has not forgotten. And so you drift into uneasy sleep, body broken, spirit bruised, but with the faintest spark still burning. The next day begins the same as the last, the same dust, the same cries of overseers, the same ache in your bones. But today your work takes you closer to the city, closer to the world that Egypt shows with pride. As you walk, you see them. Temples rising high, their stone walls carved with gods that look half human, half beast. Horus, with the head of a falcon, staring down with unblinking eyes. Anubis, jackal-headed, painted black, watching as though waiting for your death. Ra, the sun itself, worshipped as giver of life, though for you it only burns. Incense drifts from the temple doors. Priests in linen robes chant prayers in a tongue you do not understand. Offerings of bread and wine are carried in, while you carry mud and straw. The contrast cuts deep. They bring gifts for statues, while you break your back for stone. And above it all, Pharaoh. His image carved into every wall, his name etched into every monument. To Egypt he is not just a king. He is a god on earth, his word final, his will unquestioned. When he commands, nations bow. When he speaks, slaves bend lower. You glance upward at the statues, the endless carvings of his face, each one larger than life, each one meant to remind you of your place. You are nothing. He is everything. Your sweat builds his glory. Your pain cements his power. But deep inside, you know what your people whisper at night, that there is another God, not made of stone, not painted on a wall, the God of Abraham, of Isaac, of Jacob, a God who cannot be carved, who cannot be burned into clay, a God who sees. And centuries later, the Bible records the words of Pharaoh himself, words that show his heart. And Pharaoh said, "Who is the Lord, that I should obey his voice to let Israel go? I know not the Lord, neither will I let Israel go." Exodus 5:2. The arrogance is clear. He knew monuments, idols, armies, wealth, but he did not know the Lord. And for that, he set himself against the very God who made heaven and earth. You walk past the temple gates, shoulders heavy with mud and straw. Inside, the priests bow to painted gods, whispering chants into empty air. Outside, the sun burns, the overseer shouts, and your back bends lower. But a question stirs in your heart. If Pharaoh and his gods are so powerful, why is your life so bitter? Why does peace never come? Why does the cry of your people grow louder with each day? You remember the stories told in whispers around the fire of promises made long ago, that your people would not always be slaves, that the God of your fathers would one day deliver, and though you see no sign of it yet, though your chains are as heavy as ever, the thought refuses to die. Maybe the gods of Egypt are silent, but maybe the God of your fathers still listens. The nights in Egypt are never truly dark. The glow of the moon slides across mud-brick walls. The wind stirs reeds along the riverbank, and the air carries a silence heavy with fear. You are there, inside a small Hebrew hut. The room is close. The smell of smoke and damp earth clings to the walls. A woman cradles a newborn, her face pale, her eyes shadowed by exhaustion. Her lips tremble as she hums a broken lullaby, rocking the child against her chest. Every sound is dangerous. Every cry could mean discovery. For Pharaoh has decreed that every Hebrew boy must be cast into the river, every life extinguished before it can begin. And with every wail from this tiny mouth, you feel the noose tighten around this family. For 3 months, the child is hidden. You help bar the door. You hush his cries. You press your back against the wall when soldiers march past. Each night is longer than the last. Each dawn feels stolen, borrowed from the edge of disaster. But the day comes when he cannot be hidden anymore. His voice is strong now, echoing through the hut. The neighbours hear. The risk is too great. The mother's eyes are wet with tears as she weaves a basket of reeds. You watch her fingers work, fast, desperate, yet careful. She smears the gaps with pitch, black and sticky, sealing each seam with trembling hands. The smell of tar fills the room, sharp, bitter, unforgettable. It clings to her skin, staining her palms as though sealing her sorrow into the weave. Then gently, she lays the child inside. The basket creaks as his weight settles, as though even the reeds protest the burden they are asked to carry. She tucks him into the cloth, smoothing it with shaking fingers, whispering words you cannot quite hear, a prayer, a plea, a surrender. And now you follow her to the Nile. The morning light glitters on the surface, 1,000 shards of gold. But beneath that beauty lurks danger, the pull of the current, the unseen creatures below. The river is both life and death, blessing and curse. She kneels at the bank. The mud is cool beneath her knees, her linen robes streaked with earth. Her tears fall silently, mixing with the water, vanishing into the current. Her hands hover over the basket one last time. She leans down, presses her lips to the child's forehead, and then lets go. The basket drifts, rocking gently as the current carries it away. You feel your heart race, as though your own child were inside. Every ripple threatens to overturn it. Every gust of wind pushes it further. You walk along the bank, unable to look away. The reeds bend with the breeze, the air hums with insects, the Nile whispers its secrets. And then, voices. Women approach, dressed in fine linen, their servants trailing behind. At their centre is one who walks with authority, her head held high, her bracelets glinting in the sun. Pharaoh's daughter, the princess of Egypt. She comes to the river to bathe. Her eyes fall upon the basket among the reeds. She signals, and a servant wades in, pulling it to shore. The lid is lifted. The cry of the child pierces the air. The princess stares. Her face softens. Her lips part as though caught between command and compassion. The baby's cry echoes against the stone heart of Egypt, and something cracks. This is one of the Hebrews' children, she says. Yet she does not turn away. She does not order his death. Instead, she gathers him into her arms, her royal linen brushing against his fragile skin. And in that moment, you realize the God of your fathers has already begun to move. The years pass. The child grows. And you are there, watching him rise in a world that is not his own. The palace is nothing like the mud huts of the Hebrews. Stone walls soar high, painted with brilliant colours, scenes of battles and gods etched in gold. The air is cooler here, shaded by pillars scented with oils and lotus flowers. Servants move silently, pouring water into bronze basins, fanning the air with palm leaves. Music drifts through the halls, harps, flutes, voices singing praises to Pharaoh. And in the midst of this splendour walks Moses. His hair is black, his stride confident, his eyes bright with the sharpness of youth. He wears linen of the finest weave, smooth against his skin, dyed with rare colours reserved for the elite. Gold bracelets gleam at his wrists, sandals crafted not of reeds but of leather. To every eye, he is a prince of Egypt. But you see something deeper, because when he looks upon the Hebrew slaves, his gaze lingers. You see it, the tightening of his jaw, the heaviness in his brow. He knows, somewhere in his heart, he knows he is not Pharaoh's son. He is theirs. He is yours. One day you walk with him beyond the palace gates. The sun burns hot, the cries of labour rise sharp in the air. Hebrews bend low, backs bent, hands raw with clay. Whips crack, men stumble, children cry. And then you see it, a Hebrew slave, beaten mercilessly by an Egyptian overseer. The whip falls again and again, tearing flesh, leaving red lines across his back. The slave collapses, groaning, his face pressed into the dirt. The overseer laughs, raising the whip once more. Something in Moses breaks. You see it in his eyes, fire, fury, pain. He looks left, then right. No one moves. No one dares to intervene. But Moses does. He rushes forward, seizing the overseer's arm. A struggle, a shout, a blow, and then silence. The overseer lies still, his body limp in the sand. Blood darkens the earth. The slave stares in shock. You feel your own heart pounding, your breath caught. What has he done? Moses looks at his hands, trembling. He glances around again, fear etched on his face. Quickly he drags the body, burying it in the sand, covering it with his own sweat and desperation. But the ground cannot hide the truth. The act cannot be buried. The next day, two Hebrews quarrel, striking one another in anger. Moses steps between them, his voice sharp. Why do you strike your fellow? But the answer cuts deeper than the whip ever could. Who made you ruler and judge over us? Will you kill me as you killed the Egyptian? The words hang heavy in the air, exposed, revealed. No secret remains hidden in Egypt for long. Pharaoh hears, and fury burns hotter than the desert sun. A prince of Egypt has turned traitor. A son of the palace has stained his hands with Egyptian blood. Soldiers are sent to kill him. Moses flees. You run with him through streets narrow and wide, past temples and markets, until the city falls behind. Your lungs burn, your legs ache, but fear drives you forward. Sand stretches before you, endless, merciless. The desert swallows sound, swallows hope. By day the sun scorches, by night the cold cuts to the bone. Moses stumbles, thirsty alone, and yet he survives, step by step, mile after mile, until at last he reaches Midian. There, beside a well, a new story begins. But for now, you sit in the silence of the wilderness, the stars spread above like fire scattered across black velvet. And you know, God is not finished. The desert is vast. Days blur into one another, sun by day, stars by night. Moses tends the flocks of his new family, walking among stony hills and dry ravines. The life of a shepherd is quiet, hidden, far from the palace, far from the cries of his people. 40 years pass like grains of sand slipping through an hourglass. And then, one day, everything changes. You are with him, leading the sheep across the wilderness. The air is dry, filled with the scent of dust and scrub. The silence is broken only by the bleating of goats, the crunch of your sandals on stone. Your mind wanders, as it always does, until your eyes catch something strange. Ahead, on the slope of a mountain, fire. At first it seems ordinary, a bush ignited by the heat of the desert, but as you step closer, you notice. It does not burn away. The flames leap bright and fierce, yet the branches remain whole, unconsumed. The fire lives, but the bush survives. The sight steals your breath. Moses stops. You stop with him. His face is frozen in awe, his eyes wide. He whispers almost to himself, I will turn aside and see this great sight, why the bush is not burnt. You follow as he steps closer, the sand crunching beneath your feet. The air grows heavy, charged, as though every particle trembles. And then a voice. "Moses, Moses!" The sound is unlike any other. Not thunder, though it shakes you. Not whisper, though it pierces your soul. It is a voice that carries both fire and water, both weight and gentleness. Moses stares, trembling. "Here am I," he answers, his voice breaking. And the voice replies, "Do not come any closer. Take off your sandals, for the place where you stand is holy ground." You feel it too, the holiness. The very earth beneath your feet seems alive, charged with something beyond comprehension. You bend low, heart pounding, afraid to lift your eyes. The voice continues, "I am the God of your father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob." At these words, Moses hides his face, and you hide yours too, for you are afraid to look upon God. But the voice does not condemn. It calls. "I have surely seen the affliction of my people who are in Egypt. I have heard their cry by reason of their taskmasters, for I know their sorrows. And I am come down to deliver them out of the hand of the Egyptians, and to bring them up out of that land unto a good land, a land flowing with milk and honey." The words wash over you like water in the desert. God has seen, God has heard, God has come down, and then the impossible. The voice speaks directly to Moses. "Come now, and I will send you unto Pharaoh, that you may bring forth my people, the children of Israel, out of Egypt." Moses stumbles back, his hands raised, his voice shaking. "Who am I, that I should go unto Pharaoh, and that I should bring forth the children of Israel out of Egypt?" But the answer is steady, sure, unshaken. "Certainly I will be with you." The fire flickers, steady and unyielding. The bush still burns and yet is not consumed, a picture of God himself, eternal, unstoppable, unchanging. You stand there in awe. The desert is silent, the sheep forgotten, the world hushed, and you realize this is no ordinary day. This is the day God calls a man to change history. The desert is behind you now. The fire of the burning bush still lingers in your memory, but ahead lies Egypt, loud, restless, unyielding. You walk once more through its streets, no longer as a prince, no longer as a fugitive, but as a messenger of the Almighty. The palace gates rise tall before you, carved with images of falcons, lions, and Pharaoh himself. Guards in bronze stand watch, their spears gleaming in the sun. You feel their eyes on you, but your steps do not falter. Beside you, Aaron walks steady, your brother, your voice, when yours is not enough. The air grows cooler as you enter the throne room. Columns stretch skyward, painted with scenes of conquest and gods watching from above. Incense burns thick and sweet, filling your lungs. Musicians play softly in the shadows, their strings trembling as though they sense what is about to unfold. And there he sits, Pharaoh, crowned in gold, clothed in white linen, his face carved in pride. Around him, nobles whisper, priests glance nervously. The hall is heavy with power, with arrogance, with the weight of a man who believes himself a god. Moses steps forward. You hear his voice echo through the chamber. "Thus says the Lord, the God of Israel, let my people go, that they may hold a feast to me in the wilderness." The words hang in the air like thunder. Pharaoh leans forward, his eyes narrowing, his lips curling in disdain. "Who is the Lord, that I should obey his voice to let Israel go? I know not the Lord, neither will I let Israel go." The court murmurs, the musicians falter. The arrogance in Pharaoh's tone cuts deeper than any whip. Moses does not retreat. Aaron lifts the staff and casts it to the ground. Before your very eyes the wood twists, coils, and becomes a serpent, alive, hissing across the polished floor. Gasps rise from the courtiers. Priests scramble forward, throwing down their own staffs, and by their enchantments they too become serpents. But then the serpent of Moses devours them all, one by one, until nothing remains but silence and fear. Yet Pharaoh's heart does not yield. He waves his hand as though brushing away dust. No. And so the signs begin. The Nile, proud and wide, is struck. You see the water turn red, thick as blood. Fish float lifeless to the surface. The stench fills the air. Cries echo along the riverbank as people scramble for water, digging in the sand. But Pharaoh hardens his heart. Then come the frogs. They swarm the land, leaping into houses, into ovens, into the very bedchambers of Egypt. The croaking is deafening, the stench unbearable. Yet when Pharaoh pleads for relief, and it is granted, he hardens his heart again. Then lice, covering man and beast alike. Then swarms of flies, blackening the skies, filling every corner. Livestock dying, boils rising on flesh, hail pounding fields, locusts devouring what remains, each sign heavier than the last, each one stripping Egypt of its pride, its strength, its very breath. And through it all, you stand as witness. You hear the cries of the people, the defiance of Pharaoh, the steady voice of Moses repeating the same words again and again. Let my people go. But Pharaoh refuses. His heart grows harder, his pride deeper, and you begin to understand. This is not just a battle between men. This is a battle between the gods of Egypt and the living God who has no rival. The plagues have shaken Egypt, yet Pharaoh still hardens his heart. But now a final word comes, a night unlike any other. You are there among your people. The air is tense, heavy, as though the whole land holds its breath. Moses speaks, his voice steady. Each family shall take a lamb without blemish. Its blood you shall place upon the doorposts of your houses. For this night the Lord will pass through the land, and when he sees the blood, he will pass over you, and no plague shall destroy you. The command is strange, fearful, but you obey. You watch as the lamb is brought in, its wool soft, its eyes bright. The knife flashes, its blood runs red into a bowl. Your hands shake as you dip hyssop, brushing it across the wooden doorframe, left, right, above. The crimson stain glistens in the torchlight. It looks like life and death. Inside, the lamb is roasted, its scent filling the small room. Bitter herbs, unleavened bread, eaten in haste. You stand ready, sandals strapped, cloak gathered, staff in hand. Every movement is tense. Every sound from outside makes you flinch. And then the silence breaks. At first, a cry far away, faint in the distance, then another, until the whole land echoes with weeping. The cry of Egypt rises like a storm, like a wound torn open. From palace to prison, from Pharaoh's throne to the lowliest servant's hut, death has come. The firstborn of Egypt has fallen. But inside your house, you are safe. The blood upon the door is a shield. The destroyer passes over. You clutch your family close, trembling, whispering thanks, tears burning your eyes. And then the shout comes, a command, desperate, broken. Rise up, get you forth from among my people. Take your flocks, take your herds, and go. Serve the Lord as you have said. Pharaoh's voice, once proud, now shattered. Egypt, once mighty, now broken. The people move quickly, bags packed, cloaks tied, bread still unleavened on their shoulders. The night sky glitters with stars as thousands pour from their homes, a river of humanity flowing out of bondage. You walk among them, your heart racing, hardly believing it. The weight of chains lifts. The promise of freedom breathes new air into your lungs, and yet ahead waits the wilderness. Ahead waits the unknown. But tonight you are free. For the first time in 400 years, your people walk not as slaves, but as a nation. The God who heard your cry has answered. The God who saw your pain has delivered. The night is far from over. You walk with thousands, torches flickering, feet pounding the earth. The sound is like thunder, men, women, children, animals, carts creaking under hurried loads. For the first time in generations, the Hebrews march not to work, but to freedom. But freedom does not come easily. Behind you, a sound grows louder. At first, a distant rumble, then the pounding of hooves, then the clash of chariots. Pharaoh has changed his mind. The armies of Egypt race through the night, their wheels cutting the sand, their drivers shouting like hunters on the chase. Fear spreads like fire. You look around. Children cry, women scream, men stumble. Ahead is the sea, wide and merciless, waves crashing under the moonlight. Behind is death, swift and certain. The people cry out, panic rising like the tide. Why have you brought us here? Better to die in Egypt than in the wilderness. But Moses does not panic. He raises his staff, his voice strong above the storm of fear. Do not be afraid. Stand still and see the salvation of the Lord, which he will show you today. For the Egyptians whom you see today, you shall see them again no more forever. The Lord shall fight for you, and you shall hold your peace. The words strike your heart like lightning, and then the impossible begins. A wind rises. At first, a whisper across the water, then stronger, howling, tearing through the night. The sea churns, trembles, and then parts. The waters split to the left and to the right, towering walls shimmering in the moonlight. Between them lies a path of dry ground stretching into the distance. The people gasp. Some fall to their knees. Others cry aloud in awe, but there is no time. The path is open. Moses steps forward, staff in hand, and the people follow. You walk with them. Your feet touch the seabed, firm and dry, though moments ago it was buried under waves. To your left, a wall of water rises higher than any building, glowing faintly in the starlight. To your right, another wall, alive with rushing, roaring power, yet held back by unseen hands. Every step is a miracle. Every breath is borrowed from eternity. Children cling to their mothers. Old men lean on staffs. Carts creak. Animals bray. Voices murmur prayers between sobs. The people move forward, faster and faster, driven by both fear and faith. Behind you, the thunder grows again. Pharaoh's chariots enter the sea path, wheels rattling, drivers shouting. The glow of torches flickers against the walls of water. For a moment it seems they will overtake you, but then chaos. Their wheels swerve, sticking in the mud. The horses rear, the drivers cry out in panic. Confusion spreads among the armies of Egypt. And then Moses lifts his staff once more. The walls of water shudder, tremble, and collapse. The roar is deafening, like mountains falling, like the sky itself breaking open. The sea crashes down, swallowing horses, riders, chariots, everything. The waves churn red, then close, smooth once more under the pale moonlight. You stand on the far shore, breathless, soaked in sweat, trembling with awe. The people cheer, shout, weep, falling to the ground in praise. And in your heart you know, this is not just escape. This is salvation. The God who split the sea is the God who walks with you. The chains of Egypt are gone, drowned in the waters. You are free. You stand on the far shore of the sea. The sound of waves still echoes in your ears, but the cries of the Egyptians are gone. For the first time there is silence. Not the silence of fear, but of peace. And as you breathe deeply, you realize this story is not only history. It is a mirror. Because slavery is not only chains and whips. Slavery can live in the heart. There are people today who live as captives, not of Pharaoh but of fear, not of Egypt but of anxiety, shame, guilt. Chains not seen with the eyes but felt in the soul. Sleepless nights, restless thoughts, burdens that weigh heavier than bricks. But just as God heard the cry of his people in Egypt, he hears the cry of your heart. Just as he saw their suffering, he sees yours. And just as he split the sea for them, he makes a way for you. The same God who said, "I have come down to deliver," has not changed. He is still the deliverer. He is still the one who breaks chains. He is still the one who gives freedom. And tonight, as you listen, maybe you feel it. That longing, that hope, that whisper inside. Could this God be for me too? The answer is yes. The story of Egypt is not just their story. It is yours. God saves not only nations, but hearts. Not only yesterday, but today. Not only then, but now. So now, let's pray. You don't need to say the words aloud. Just let them rest in your heart as you drift towards sleep. God, I thank you for this listener. You see their heart. You know their burdens. Tonight, I ask that you give them peace. Where there is fear, bring courage. Where there is anxiety, bring calm. Where there are heavy chains, bring freedom. Let them know that you are with them, even in the darkest night. And now, give them rest. Let their sleep be deep, their mind quiet, their spirits safe in your care. Thank you, Lord, for being the same yesterday, today, and forever. Amen. The fire crackles softly. The night is calm. The story is finished. You are safe. Rest now.